starting again. We are going to record this part of the class, then we will stop recording and there'll be an opportunity for discussion and exchange of ideas. I have to tell you before we start though, that I have to be finished well before, like 5 minutes before noon, because I have a regional rabbis meeting at noon. We are going to be exchanging all kinds of ideas as to what different congregations are doing and not doing. We're doing this now on a weekly basis. We used to meet once a month and just have a nice get together. We have some serious ideas that we're exchanging right now and giving each other a lot of support. By the way, also at this meeting, we're saying goodbye to Rabbi Werbo from Beth Shalom, who is moving to DC. He has a congregation there. They're bringing in an interim rabbi for a year, just for your information. Now, two fun things, I guess. When we talk about live streaming services, one of the objections, and I don't mean from here, but across the board, is people don't want to be seen, they want their privacy. I understand that, but I'm just sharing that, and we're protecting your privacy, anything you may or may not want to share in the discussion that follows. We're also doing this by invitation only to protect ourselves from people who are interrupting programs there in a very, very unpleasant way. In this week's e-blast from the congregation, I am going to list some resources. I'm going to go through them right now, but they'll all be written down, and if you want me to send this to you by email, I certainly will. One of the questions that we have been asked many times over the past week, what can we do? Now, I'm pretty sure we sent out to everybody the guidelines or suggestions from the Union for Reform Judaism, things we can do at this difficult time. I'm recommending urj.org, urj.org, which is full of ideas and suggestions, multiple ideas for certain projects, resources, no end. And since we're part of that organization, let us take advantage of what they have to offer us. I'm also recommending, again, on the basis of a different kind of conversation, people have said they'd like to learn more, they'd like to understand more, they'd like to be exposed to all kinds of Jewish things. I know there are all kinds of things in the arts, in the area of music that are out there, but I have enjoyed, and I say enjoyed in the intellectual sense, very much two websites. One is from the Hebrew Union College, huc.edu, and if you look on their website, they have all kinds of lectures and community activities that didn't exist before we were basically locked up at home. There are some wonderful programs that I have enjoyed, and if you have enjoyed our Scholar in Residence program, you can get about 10 Scholar in Residence equivalents just by clicking on all this, and it's all free, by the way. Some leading professors of the Hebrew Union College have shared some of their ideas and some of their work with us. Similarly, the Jewish Theological Seminary of America, that's the Seminary for Conservative Judaism, jtsa.edu, has all kinds of community activities on a regular basis. They used to in real time live things. For example, if someone published a significant book in Jewish studies, they'd have a book evening where the individual would give a talk, answer questions, and this was a very popular thing in New York. I'm pretty sure they charged when you wanted to attend, if you came from outside the JTS community. All of this is now available online, free. And again, I've enjoyed it. I'm just sharing a thought or two with you. There are different ways of reading books. The topic can be interesting. You could have heard good things about the author. Perhaps you know the author. Now, sometimes by knowing the author, that will lead you to read the book. Or if you hear the author speak, let's say we bring an author into the congregation, he or she gives a talk, you said, this is wonderful, I'm going to buy and read a copy of the book. Sometimes it goes the other way around. You've read the book and you want to see what the author looks like and sounds like. It's ideal to do that in person. It makes the world of difference. It's a different kind of communication. The same as I wish all of us could be in the same room right now. When we had our sessions on Tuesday mornings at the temple, it was the world of difference having everybody there. We could communicate, I think, on far more sophisticated levels and on different levels of communication. But I have enjoyed in some cases, I've been stimulated to decide to read the book. In other cases, I've heard about this guy. I've never met him. I don't even know what he looks like. This all makes a difference. And I'm saying all of this because we are learning new skills and new forms of communication. We're having a rabbis meeting, as I told you, right after this. We're having an executive board meeting. We are doing things we would never have considered, at least it wasn't part of my world, not that long ago. We used to get excited when we made long distance phone calls. And as I have said on other occasions, before we even got into Zoom, you can establish a relationship or rapport with somebody on the phone that you've never met, that you have to do some sort of business or another with. You sort of get to know each other, but there's a different level of knowing a person when you see that person face to face. And let me see your face. Let me know what you look like. Maybe it shouldn't be that way. Maybe people who are visually impaired have different ways of understanding, feeling. Their hearing gives them an insight that maybe our levels of hearing don't have. But I'm just elaborating on all of this and thinking in a sort of out loud way, though I've structured a lot of thoughts on paper as to how we are and where we will be. I'm going to share something else with you and then give me feedback. This is on another level of Zoom or online or streaming communication. We have been pre-recording the Friday night services. We pre-recorded Saturday morning and then posted almost immediately afterwards. But to pre-record a Friday night service on Wednesday, and you have to wait until Friday, does a lot of negative things. First, you get all mixed up in your own life as to what day of the week it is. I feel we've recorded a service. Now I should say to the family, good Shabbos, and let's have a Shabbos meal. It doesn't work that way. The other disadvantages are if people want names put on a yahrzeit list or a Mishaberach list. And I've told people, let me know well in advance, but sometimes they don't know well in advance. It's a different story. And we were talking the other day in whatever committee, and everything is blended into one in my mind right now, that whatever we do in terms of recording the high holiday services, for example, the Erev Rosh Hashanah service will be recorded and made available at the time of the service. So it will be a different level of reality. It's not just something that you are seeing that was pre-recorded. I'm not sure. I don't know what we're going to do, but I would imagine it will be recorded while you're seeing it. So if for sake of argument, you can't see it at the appropriate time, you'll be able to see it later. This is a revolution in Jewish life. And even those congregations that are opening up to real time, I'm going to say a word about that in a moment, are still streaming. What does this make me think of? With the invention of printing, and this is something that's of enormous interest to me, with the invention of printing, did manuscripts, handwritten books, disappear? No, there was still a huge overlap. As with services that are streamed, that doesn't mean real services disappear. There's a world of difference. Now, a member of the congregation sent us this morning, I think it was, or maybe last night, some guidelines that are being used for a congregation elsewhere. They're trying to reopen into real time. None of this would work for us. They are limiting the people who can be there. You have to be under 65 and in good health. That eliminates a good part of our congregation, practically everyone. They have to be spread out. They're doing this outside. I sort of remember what their campus, their property looks like. They could do that and not in a parking lot. They can actually do that. And everybody has to wash hands, use sanitizers, keeping detailed records of who was there and who wasn't there in case anything breaks out. So I'm trying to bring that down to earth also. If people hear that congregations are opening up, and some churches in Sarasota are, but they limit it to 12 people, and you have to be under a certain age, etc. So I'm just sharing with you some of the new ideas that are coming our way, and some of the things that I know we'll be discussing in our rabbis meeting, and I'm sure in our board meeting also, facing challenges that we didn't have before, forcing us to be creative, where in the past we could just do what we've always been doing. And with that in mind, let me tell you one more thing that's on the innovation list for me. The Reform movement in Israel is publishing a new prayer book. I was under the misunderstanding that it was already printed, published, and so forth, because pages of it are being shared on the Reform movement in Israel's website, or Facebook page, I should say. So I sent off an email yesterday saying, how do I get a copy of this? And I was told, we'll put you on the list. We're collecting subscriptions, in other words, financial backing right now. It should be published soon. I'm sure I will get in the mail a suggestion that I make a contribution, and of course I will. But I am interested in new liturgies and new prayer books. We certainly have new prayer books for the high holidays, full of creative material, some of which we've never seen before, some of which is thousands of years old. So in this ongoing effort to deal with the reality that we face, and I'm going to open this up to all of you. May I suggest, it's according to my watch about 20 after, we go until about 7 or 5 minutes to give me a chance to type in the codes for the next meeting, where I will meet with the rabbis of Sarasota and Manatee County. So, Corin, if we can sort of change however we're doing this, and we'll open this up to questions.